I was here 8 years ago, as Ike said, and then some of us were younger, and some of us were younger still. Some were not married, and now they're happily married. Congratulations, Adogo. Ike has become an elder in the meantime. And Padi Anibo celebrated 50 years on 7 continents. That's how surprised he was that he turned 50. I've also been busy. In the meantime, we went to Nigeria, myself, my wife, and we built a geoscience company. I work for my wife, and she's a global navigation satellite system specialist. So we went to build a geoscience company. And the company, geoscience does what it says on the tin. It looks at the world. So we look at the world from the sky. We have a geophysics department that looks deep into the earth, looking for gas, looking for resources to turn Nigeria into a more developed place. We also provide data to build railways, power stations, and things like that. So we did that for a while, and by 2017, I was getting a little bit bored, and we decided to take some time off. I was very lucky to be accepted as a fellow at the London Business School, so I was looking forward to coming back to London. Was studying my affairs, and December 2017, everything that was going right was going right. Until just a few days before I left, I got a call that my mom had been taken very severely ill. She ended up in a hospital because she was so poorly, we couldn't even think of doing the typical Nigerian thing of putting her on a plane and sending her to Los Angeles or London to treat her. So we put her in a local hospital, and things were really bad. The prognosis was awful. While we were thinking what to do, it went from bad to really, really bad. So her body really couldn't sustain her anymore. So they put her on life support. And I went down to the hospital to see her. And I have to say that that period actually helped me to think really about what the year off in London was going to be. And I spent a lot of time walking in the corridors, sitting by her. Anybody who's been with a very ill relative knows what it takes to get there as early as you can and try and leave as late as you can. And most of the time, I'll be thrown out at midnight. But I would go out, and instead of going home, I would sit there and just watch something remarkable. My mother was being kept alive by 2 diesel generators, and they didn't look very new to me. And that was really, really shocking. It boiled down to 2 clunky, old, polluting monsters who I would normally hate on a good day, but they were keeping my mother alive. And all of the fancy technology stuff we were doing, all of the pushing the boundaries, all of the science, all of the being in the oil and gas business, being a high-flying executive, came down to if that generator will stop working, that would be it. And but it wasn't always like this. My grandfather was one of those who set up the first trade union of the coal miners in Enugu. Enugu used to be an industrial city. Enugu was a place that pioneered social housing in Nigeria. Enugu was a place where the workers had rights to housing, to health, to education. In fact, the coal miners insisted on building a comprehensive college. They didn't want just any old, ordinary college. They wanted a comprehensive college because they found out that the managers all went to comprehensives, and they wouldn't have anything less for their kids. And Enugu was also the place in 1974 where Sub-Saharan Africa had its first open heart operation. And that operation had no results to generators. The doctors just got on, and electricity was still taken for granted. But in 2017, that was not the case. And my mom was on life support, and like most other Nigerian institutions, the generator was a lifeline. Diesel generators, for some of you who do not know, cost Nigeria, in imports alone, $4.6 billion a year. We ship out crude, halfway around the world to places like India and China and re-import the nastiest stuff of that crude, the heaviest part, back into Nigeria, and we burn them in our homes. But the problem with diesel generators is not just the cost in terms of dollars and cents. Diesel generators and things like diesel generators actually kill far more people, and I was happy with the TED talk that was shown previously. Diesel generators will kill about 110,000 people in Nigeria this year. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense from the physics, it doesn't make sense from science, it doesn't make sense from economics, it doesn't make sense from the ethics part of it. Why are we doing this to ourselves? So we move from the buildings and from the offices and from the institutions and go to the homes. And the story is no better there. 90% of Nigerian women still cook with what we call solid biomass or kerosene. Every night, a cooking experience is a poisoning experience for the woman. 60,000 women would die this year just by the act of cooking. Doesn't make sense. We shouldn't be doing this to ourselves. Do we have solutions? We do have solutions. Nigeria is super blessed by an amazing location in the world. We're near the equator, which gives us a lot of advantages. One of those advantages is we have an amazingly high quality of solar radiation. We can produce as much solar as we need. If you look and see the big black dot, big red dot there, that is how much you need of solar panels to generate all the power that is required in the whole world. The size of that square is less than the size of Nigeria. To make matters even more serious from the point of view of lost opportunities, I cannot think of one government institution in Nigeria that doesn't have enough space in the garden or on the roof to generate all the power it needs. It takes you 6,000 square meters to generate 1 megawatt of power. There is no ministry in the center of Abuja that is less than 6,000 square meters, not one. We're also blessed, if we don't want to go completely zero carbon, we're blessed with amazing gas resources. We have 210 trillion cubic feet of gas. In fact, we have so much gas, we burn 2 billion cubic feet per day. Just burn it, set it on fire, burn it. We call it flaring, but think of it as wasted potential. That gas that we burn is enough to produce all the power that we need today in Nigeria, but we just burn it. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense economically, it doesn't make sense on a science basis, it doesn't make sense any way you look at it. So why do we do it? So what I want to suggest today is that there is so much wasted potential in a place like Nigeria. And at the end of my year in London, I decided that trying to understand and rationalize and explain why we do what we do is no longer sufficient. I think for every one of us, we have to decide on which way we'd like to make an impact in this world. We can make an impact locally, we can make an impact with the wider community, we can make an impact globally. With the kind of exponential technologies that are available to people, fintech, genetic technologies, new and emerging sciences, artificial intelligence, big data, the ordinary person or a group of people can have effect far beyond the people they see and meet every day. It's no longer enough to be in your room and just push the paper to the next room. I think all of us as citizens of the world have to look at the wider responsibilities that we have as citizens. We are going into a world that is facing major threats. Those threats are from the kind of things that can end civilization. We're facing nuclear threats, we're facing biological threats, we're facing pandemic threats, we're facing the threat of artificial machines fighting in wars, we're facing unimaginable threats. But we are also blessed with, as I said, unimaginable potential. Reading through the Conduit Club's mission, I find out that in this room we have diverse, passionate people, social entrepreneurs, creatives, business leaders, policymakers, and so many more. So what are you going to do with your potential? Because what you say you believe is not you. You are what you do. And it's time for some of us to look around and decide how we are going to engage in the world, how we are really going to be global citizens, what we are going to do, and when we are going to do it. I think today is a good time to start thinking about what to do next. Thank you very much.